In case you have forgotten that I am writing a steamy werewolf book, this will be the week that you remember very clearly how steamy this book is. And it probably will only get worse next week because we're really getting into the thick of it. Every other way I've thought of how to say that sentence has gone terribly, so you know what? We're sticking with that. Welcome to week 5 of Let's Make a Book Baby, where I am taking you from the very start of writing all the way until when I officially publish this book. Honestly, I did not have as much time as I wanted to write this week, so there's a lot of brainstorming, but I did manage to get a lot of words down, and strangely, the book has a lot of words in it already. I'm starting to panic because it doesn't seem right, so I'm gonna have to be cutting stuff out or something. I don't know. This week was where I really feel like I understand these characters a lot more. I am having to plot out much more concretely all of the different steamy scenes that I have planned, especially in the beginning, because with slow burn, I feel like it's kind of hard to keep something slow burn if we want it to be a steamy romance book. It's getting really wild already because there's ways to do that, but it's ridiculous. So here we go. If you aren't aware of what this book is about thus far, that is okay. I'll catch you up to speed. It is a steamy werewolf book. The two main characters now, because it's a dual perspective, are Ari and Marcus. It is also an Omegaverse book. So Ari is an Omega through and through. He's also a trans guy. Then we have Marcus, and he is also an Omega, but he is more gender fluid, and he's going to talk about that more and more throughout the book and maybe come to accept more sides of himself a bit more. All of his motivations are seeming to click into place now that I have finished his first chapter, which was so long that I had to split it into 2 chapters. I was establishing Ari as the Shadow King. So if you didn't read up till the end of the My Shy Alpha series, Ari is the son of Aaliyah and Noah, who are the main characters in the My Shy Alpha series. And in the 3rd book of that series, we see that there's this stupid competition every year where all the alphas come together and they're like basically having a gladiator competition to see who is the strongest. And so Aaliyah, it's her perspective in that series. She's like, this is so ridiculous and pointless. And Marcus and Ari are of the same mindset now. So I think that was pretty fun to just show the tail end. Tail, get it, because they're wolves. Show the tail end of the Alpha Summit competition because Ari has something to prove. So he is very much so an Omega, as I mentioned, and that means that when he is strong, it's going against all of these stereotypes that have still stuck around in the past 25 years. Or maybe 30. I haven't decided how old he is right now because I'm confused by him. Still, I know I said I wasn't, but I still am a little bit confused by him in his age. He is like, okay, enough of this. Like, you still are calling this the alpha competition, but obviously a bunch of us can be strong. But we're kind of hearing this through Marcus's perspective, where he is equally frustrated and he's more on the supporting side of getting Ari into this competition, but more as a surprise, because if he was there in the first place, it would draw more attention to him, but Ari doesn't want attention drawn to him because he just wants to make the point that Omegas are also strong. All different genders are strong in their own ways, or even they can be strong physically, and he doesn't necessarily want to win the title itself of King Alpha, or in his case would be King Omega. So basically, we're getting to see Marcus's family and how freaking annoying they are, which I love. I think it's hilarious. But poor Marcus is like the middle child. He's also a diplomat. So instead of wanting to be the leader of his parents' big pack, which is like on par with Ari's parents' massive pack. They're like global leaders who are just some of the most known and like top leaders. Marcus prefers to be more of a mediator, so he is a diplomat. He'll go to different packs and try to resolve issues between their allies, or maybe even with people who are very much so against their belief systems. So the combination of him being a middle child in a giant family, because his parents basically didn't stop having kids. If you read book 3, you can understand that. But he has this expectation to always be under control. So there's more purpose to why I wanted him to seem like just very chill. He has a high tolerance for stuff. I feel like having his perspective with that and seeing like what he's actually like now that he's like in the scene and I'm in his head like describing his thoughts, he just makes so much more sense to me, so I'm relieved. The other side of that is that in terms of like their different conflicts, the main conflict I bring up basically right away because Marcus is like, I need to tell Ari that I want to be his mate because they both haven't found their fated mate. According to them, they are fated mates. Okay, I feel like we know this. So that's what I think is really funny about this book. And I was like, okay, maybe if I lean into this humor, it's going to work. The issue was that I think when I was talking about when I was overthinking last week, part of what was happening, I think, is that Marcus's first perspective is kind of sad. They have a big misunderstanding that doesn't allow them to decide to be together, but it's actually really cute. Ari basically thinks that he has already hurt Marcus's chances at a good life with a fated mate. That is Ari's perspective. He's very worried about that. After we discover more about them through a few chapters, I reveal that he has accidentally half bonded himself to Marcus, or rather, in his point of view, he has forced Marcus to be half bonded to him. In my point of view, this wouldn't have happened if they weren't meant to be together already, but it's something that has happened since they were teenagers, so they were young and probably didn't know how to explain this to each other. That's why we see them able to mind link throughout the beginning of the book, and then you're like, oh my god, no wonder they're so disturbed by all this situation. When we see Marcus's perspective in the first chapter, he just blurts out what his parents keep drilling into his head to say, and so Ari misunderstands when he's like, oh, my parents want me to find a mate. That basically sounds like he doesn't think that Ari would be a good mate for him, in Ari's opinion, because he's already has a negative point of view. But then when Ari is like, oh, that's good news, I'm happy for you, because he feels bad. Then Marcus is like, oh my god, he doesn't think of me as a potential mate. So they both have the same misunderstanding. But like I said, since I hate miscommunication tropes, I'm ending that section by having it be like, okay, like Marcus regardless does not want to just cut Ari out of his life or something, so he's still going to try to be around him. So like you still have this hope that they're going to try to solve something. Then as it keeps going, I fixed a bit of it because I wanted it to feel like, okay, we see they're going to take steps towards this and they both really want this, so it's like not over before it begins. And then instead of having them be in conflict in a negative way, when they first have this initial rejection, I was like, I need to make them super sweet towards each other, and it's really cute. So Ari, when he hears that from Marcus is like, you look like you're hurt by this, I said the wrong thing. But then Ari's like, no, I just want you to be happy, like do anything to make you happy, I don't care what it is, I'll still be in your life. But then that's what leads Marcus to be like, oh no, he's thinking of me as a friend, like he doesn't even think of me in this way. But really what Ari's thinking is like, he feels terrible that he has ruined Marcus's chances at a fated mate because he doesn't think that he is Marcus's fated mate when he is. Because that has been such a long-standing thing, they both don't think it's possible to be each other's fated mates, to the point where it's easier to have these misunderstandings. So they both are like, I just want you to be happy, and they like say that to each other. So they calm down, and then they're like everything's okay, like we're gonna still be close to each other. So then I like shortened the time period where they next meet. By the way, I'm sorry, I'm just gushing all those spoilers because I'm very excited about it, so you have to hear. And it's about to get spicy, I swear. Marcus might visit from time to time to do diplomat-y stuff, but his friend convinces him, like his best friend convinces him, like, no, you need to go visit him for a month, which I told you about. But now I'm having him go actually visit, and I had started to write this before, and it just didn't feel developed enough, so I'm adding a lot more substance to that, and I think it's working. The issue is that no matter how I try to write this, I was like, okay, I'll have them be awkward around each other, but no, they're like really attached to each other every time they're together. And I keep trying to write them differently, but they're determined to be really adorable and like mushy together. I'm like, wow, okay, I feel like the third wheel. I don't know what to do. I think that's gonna have to be how it is. Like, they have awkwardness in the sense that they aren't telling each other their true feelings, but it's very obvious because they're super close with one another. But since I've already set up this wolf, like, culture, like shapeshifter culture, basically they have a lot more like instincts that are more like a wolf, and so they're used to like having a dog pile as a cuddle pile with their friends and family more than we would think is normal in most cultures, most human cultures. They just think like, oh, I just really like to cuddle with Marcus or whatever, like Ari would think that. It's pretty funny. Like, I'm wondering if it's gonna be uncomfortable or just like super sugary sweet, like you're gonna get a toothache type of adorable. And so it's going to be very easy to add some spiciness into this. I basically, by this point, decided like this is somewhat of a rom-com. I don't want to make any promises on that, but when I started thinking of all these steamy scenes, it's starting to be more of like My Shy Alpha, where I think all this stuff is fucking hilarious, but like I don't know if that's going to translate to readers. So like, I think it's really funny that they misunderstand each other, first of all. Then I think it's really funny that they're both like, instead of having it be like an only one bed trope, I was like, no, it needs to be where they're joking, like breaking the fourth wall, and they decide to stay in the same bed. Marcus is literally like messing with Ari by being like, okay, I'm assuming that I'm going to wake up with you in my bed wanting to cuddle with me anyway. So I'm surprised you didn't try to say like, oh no, what do we do? Like, there's only one bed. Like, he literally says that to Ari. Ari's like, okay, well, you're right, but like only if you want me to be there. So that they decide to sleep in the same bed. And so I had to plot out all of these different instances that they're going to have spicy shenanigans before they actually do anything physically together, or if they do things if they do things physically together. It's going to be like with them only half admitting. So spoiler, big spoiler, okay? I'll tell you right here where the spoilers are going to end. Number one, they are going to have a lot of spicy times together before they decide that they are officially fated mates. But they're going to use the excuse that they're like, oh, maybe we should just test out what it would be like. I don't want it to be forever until they're like, okay, I really like you. Like, it's very obvious to them, and I think that I can't avoid that at this point because they're so close. That needs to be like, okay, maybe we should test out, like do a trial period of what it's like to be mates. So then when they have heats and stuff, first of all, Ari has terrible heats. He has a disability where it's extremely painful. So we get to see how freaking sweet Marcus is, because he's really supportive and doesn't make him feel bad. Well, Ari feels bad anyway, but he doesn't make him feel worse in terms of like guilt, because he feels that type of self-ableism where he's like, oh my god, I am burdening people with my disability, when it's like, okay, obviously you can't help it, and they have their own choice if they're gonna help you or not. So basically Marcus can help dismantle that. At the same time, it's going to get spicier than usual because Ari's wolf is like, oh, this is the person that we want to be with. He'll have a combination of his usual disability symptoms with the usual heat systems, symptoms, which he has not ever experienced before. So I think that will be really funny because they're both going to be like thinking that they're just in this trial period where they're like, maybe we could just choose each other to be mates even though we haven't found our fated mates yet. Ultimately, they would discover, okay, yes, we're supposed to be together and choose each other because they've been wanting to be together this whole time. But it's actually more meaningful that regardless of them misunderstanding that they still keep reconnecting and wanting to reconnect and choosing happiness for each other. But they have to get to be more selfish to choose themselves too, and their selfish wants to be with the other person even if it might hurt them or take away their imagined possible fated mate that doesn't exist other than each other. Part of these shenanigans are that also Marcus is going to, once he's around Ari, be like, wow, I can't handle it. I think Ari gives him like cuteness aggression, so he's like, oh my god, I just want to squeeze it like in a loving way. It's going to make him have a lot of feelings, a lot of physical feelings, to where he's like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to deal with this by myself. So that's where the spice comes in before it gets really spicy. But I've had this really embarrassing idea I don't know if I should share with you. I think I'll share it with you next week because my face is turning red. But it's really funny, and it has to do with anatomy, okay? So we'll get into that next week. But I think that is a lot of the plot that I had started to develop. I do want there to still be, in these steamy scenes, some natural awkwardness. In real life, there's like awkward situations that happen during any type of sexual scenario. It doesn't always come out in this perfect way. I don't know why I said come out. I didn't have to say it like that. I meant the events unfold in an imperfect way a lot of times. So I want them to have some awkward moments together that they can like laugh off and just slowly start to feel more comfortable around each other until they're like, oh wow, we're very compatible in this way. Because we already know that they're very compatible as friends. I think that this order of being like friend compatible to spicy compatible will allow them to feel more comfortable romantically compatible, even though sometimes it's like in a different order. But I think that's going to be very interesting because they already have such a tight connection and bond with each other that it's like it all ends up super cute, even though it's going to be just as equally graphic as the My Chai Alpha series. Because like if this is like supposed to be a spin-off of that, it has to be up to the same standards of graphically spicy, you know what I mean? So I hope that you enjoyed this really wild update. I can get into more specifics of that next week if you would like. I do have to like navigate around the self-censoring that I have to do in order to tell you about these things, but I think that it will be possible. I did a pretty decent job at it this week, so I can tell you more about these anatomy issues that they're having. That I think is funny. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to hear about these shenanigans more next week. If you also want to hear early updates, I'm planning on putting different quotes and things onto my Patreon. I also have another book that I am showing early chapters of, so basically I post the rough draft onto Patreon for them to read early before the book is released. Usually when I get to the final draft, it has a lot more pieces added in and a lot of edits, so this is like you're seeing majorly behind the scenes. So right now I have a book that I'm publishing a chapter every week on Patreon, and then I'll take it down before it is finally published in the final edited version that has bonus chapters and all the stuff that's usually added in, because that's just how my editor and I end up working on my book. So if you're interested in that, you can check it out at patreon.com/Urukai, and I will see you here next week to tell you some more spicy things, I think, because wow, this upcoming chapter is really wild. Okay, goodbye for now. I can't reach you. Okay, bye.